Hello everyone, my name is David Kalish and I am a sales engineer with CloudCheckr. We're doing a brief overview of the Azure capabilities of the platform today. I'm going to show you a couple quick slides and then we're going to jump right into the interface. So real quick, CloudCheckr has been around since 2011. We are partners with many major companies. We provide cloud optimization for AWS, Azure, and GCP in beta right now. We also have an on-premise solution called Finance Manager that can help take a look at costs related to VMware environments as well as Azure Stack. Some of the highlights and capabilities of the CloudCheckr platform is that we do cost optimization to make sure your costs are in check. We have some very nice security recommendations and reports that you can run to make sure your environment is locked down nice and tight. And then we have some deep inventory capabilities as well. Our total compliance package and most of the self-healing automation capabilities are available in the AWS offering of CloudCheckr, and they will soon be released into Azure as well. Underneath the hood, we have some nice best practices, deep reports, and powerful APIs that pull everything together. So real quick, I have jumped into one of my Azure accounts, and CloudCheckr is able to see all of the different types of Azure subscriptions. Regardless of what they are in your environment, we have full support for everything, including EA subscription accounts, CSP subscriptions, regular inventory subscription accounts, even Office 365 Active Directory accounts, where we can provide basic information around reporting and license information. So this right here in front of you is a subscription account, and what we're doing is we're taking a look at the environment. We even pull in the Azure Advisor and Azure Security Center recommendations direct from Microsoft, so you can get information about how your organization is stacking up in those requirements as well. You'll also note that we have cost recommendations too. This is where you would set up the configuration related to costs, and that would pull in these information and populate our savings page. So for example, you see that we'll identify idle SQL databases, but using the configure button here, you get to determine what idle means in your environment, right? Does this mean 2% utilization over a certain period of days? You get to configure all of that information here. And then on the savings page, which I'll show you in a few moments, it will actually pull in the dollars and cents and give you actual recommendations. For the security offerings, we do have dozens of checks. Many of these are around permissions or public access, so we can find out whether or not you have containers that allow public blob access, etc. Green at the bottom indicates that you have fully resolved these items or they don't pertain in your environment, which is very helpful. So for example, if you were critically interested in whether or not you had blob containers that were set to full public read access, you can pop those open and you can see the actual information related to those containers. You can click on these to get more details about the specific containers. You can hit the read more, read less to find out what we are checking, why we are checking this, why this is important in your environment. And it also shows you the category and the importance level. And you as an end user can configure these so you can customize it to your environment. You even have links to knowledge base articles direct from Microsoft, so you can gain more information about any of the specific checks that we are performing. And of course, you can ignore an entire check if you don't really worry about that too much, or more often you want to set up some type of notification. The notifications are very powerful. You can send notifications every day, or you can send notifications only when new items have been discovered. You can do this old school through an email account, right? But then you're sending this information to an engineer who has to put their coffee down, do some work, drives them crazy. So instead, you might want to do this through one of our partner integrations. You can send this to a ticketing system like ServiceNow, Jira, lots of other options, PagerDuty, Syslog, Slack, that type of thing. You have a lot of options regarding our integrations. On the next page, this is one of the highlights of our security tool. There are a lot of different capabilities here within the security module. You can set up alerts to identify new potential problems. You can set up some configuration and activity monitoring. This one is a change monitoring tool. So to set the stage for this, years and years ago, I used to be a Windows sysadmin. And I used to be responsible for a small server farm for a nonprofit organization in New York. And every day I would come into the office and I would log into the servers and I would go through the event logs in the event viewer manually by hand. You can imagine that's a very tedious and painful process. Not a lot of people do that anymore, right? There are different reports that you can run that do that for you. So this is CloudCheckr's version of that capability. So the change monitoring report allows you to set a date range. You can set it as long as you like. And then this will run the report and show you what has changed in your environment. Yellow are any kind of modifications. Green is additions. And there's a red one over here. The red ones are items that have been deleted. So if I come in the morning and I see something was deleted and I know I didn't do it, I can pop that open to gain more information. So now I know that the gateway HTTP listener has been deleted. I know it was done through our QA testing environment, and I can go talk to Bob in QA to find out what's going on with this. Very helpful. We've been told this is one of our hidden gems within CloudCheckr. We also have a perimeter assessment. This is very helpful to find publicly accessible resources. So for example, if you come in the morning and you know you've done everything in Central and East, and you see something that's popping in North Central US and you didn't set that up, this would be a good opportunity for you to kind of dig in to figure out what's going on. So here I can see very quickly I have some SQL information that's publicly accessible. I can dig into that. With CloudCheckr, this is very common. We give you the bird's eye view and then give you the capability to dig into each individual piece of information. So I can see that there's a SQL system here that's publicly accessible, and I can dig into that to kind of find out what's going on. Turning to the cost and information side, we have some nice capabilities around reporting to let you know what's going on in your environment related to cost and cost savings. So as you can tell in my demo environment, this is a relatively lightly used environment, and we show you information according to what's going on. So I can see information from last month, how much money was spent, current month to date, and then my forecast for the end of the month, which is very helpful. We also break this down, obviously, by the different systems and services. This is very quick and easily run in the environment. But of course, if I wanted to generate deeper reports, I can do that, and I'll show you that in a moment. But before I do that, this is our cost savings page. And the savings page really does highlight some of the heavily utilized capabilities within CloudCheckr. Some of the companies that we've dealt with over the years, we know that they can save a tremendous amount of money. This amount that you see, the possible monthly savings, will obviously vary from company to company, but it usually is a good 10 to 30% in your environment. And how do we do this? We're pulling in information from your billing reports and all of the inventory resources that we're identifying and giving you some recommendations for things like idle resources or resources that are no longer being used. This is very helpful. So remember, the idle resources, you have full control over this. You're identifying what these mean in your environment, right? So you can set up idle virtual machines to only identify machines that are running at, let's say, below 5% CPU utilization over a certain period of time, right? And you can pop information on this and see what's going on. And of course, we have deeper reports to help you make sure these machines are sized appropriately in your environment. The unused resources, this is usually more fun from my perspective. These usually mean, these are items that you've probably forgotten about. Maybe you've set up a test environment and you've been running some reports or generating some information, and you try to tear everything down, but you've forgotten certain aspects. The unattached managed disks or deallocated virtual machines, very common from a CloudCheckr perspective to kind of see what's going on. And as you can see, there's a lot of potential savings here, even for a small environment. We also do have recommendations for reserved instances. For the reserved instances, you would have to switch to a higher level account. Remember, this is an inventory subscription account, and those are usually tied to a higher level enterprise agreement or a cloud solution provider account. So the reserved instance recommendations, those are usually presented at the higher level account. So I would log into my enterprise agreement account to get recommendations that way. Now, this is a tool that we call our virtual machine right sizing report. And we have right sizing capabilities and reports for a variety of different Azure services. So virtual machines, this usually makes the most sense to people. Basically what we're doing here is we're identifying the virtual machines in the environment. We're showing you what they are currently sized at. This one is a standard D1 V2. And then we grab some metrics analysis on these machines and create our own utilization score. What's happening here is we're identifying these machines. This machine has a 30-day peak CPU utilization of a little bit over 2%. That means, generally speaking, this machine is oversized. We see this all the time. Most organizations have machines that are oversized. I'd say 95 or 99% of machines that I see in environments are oversized. And that it makes a lot of sense from a systems administrator standpoint, because back in the day, not too long ago, when you purchased servers, you specifically purchased them too large. Right? You'd buy a big blade server, drop it into your rack, and you wanted that machine, that system, to be able to handle your needs for 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, depending on the scenario. So you specifically built them too large. The deal is that when you go to cloud platforms, you don't necessarily need to do that. So this machine right here is currently sized at the D1 V2, which is costing 5 cents per hour, but we would recommend stepping it down to a standard A0. And that would go to 2 cents per hour, giving you a savings of 3 cents per hour, monthly at $22. It's not bad for one machine. So if you multiply that by 10 or 100 or 1,000 machines in your environment, this can be a very substantial savings. With one of our very large customers, we were giving estimates that would save them millions of dollars per year just by doing right sizing on their instances. We also have some nice inventory reports. So there's an entire inventory section here. The inventory section can help you run reports about what's going on in your environment. Sometimes trying to find those types of information can be very helpful. So if you wanted to find out details about your blob containers, you can run a report on that. Or your managed disks, you can get a summary, and then you can run a detailed report to kind of show what's happening in the environment. And the last thing I'll show you is our most powerful tool that we call our advanced grouping report. This is a custom report that you get to decide what to showcase, and this is used to help you find tough to track down pieces of information within Azure. So let's say, for example, you have a finance person in your organization, and they are critically interested in your brand new SQL test project, and they want to find costs related to that tagged project. Now, tagging is something that's very interesting, and CloudCheckr can help you improve your tagging. So we can easily see tags that you've already created in your environment. That's easy. But we can also help you create new series of tags, create hierarchies of tags, or even fix tagging problems. Very common to see when organizations expand or change their size or change their strategy. So right here, all I'm doing is I'm asking for a report that kicks out consume service and then resource group. I'm choosing my options, and then I'm filtering by that specific tag to show me costs over the last week related to that new SQL test project. At the bottom, I can enter in, excuse me, any additional filters that I so choose. And then down at the very bottom, it's going to kick out the pretty charts and graphs that the executive teams love. But at the very bottom, this gives me the meat and potatoes. So I can tell that finance person, hey, the new SQL test is costing exactly $945.62. And that subset of data for QA, that's costing $202.14. So I can be very specific about what I showcase and give them the information that they need at a moment's notice. The best part is that I can save this filter, and then I can automate this and send this out however I see fit. So for example, if I need to send this report every week to that finance person, I can do that, include the CSV, and I don't have to worry about this anymore. They're getting the information that they need on the cadence that they desire, and we're all set, automating the whole thing, never have to worry about it again. So hopefully that gives you a good understanding of some of the highlights and features of the CloudCheckr solution. I wanted to just briefly highlight some of the capabilities in the Azure platform, give you some recommendations, things that you can look at in terms of security, cost, and reporting. Thank you for your time.